state of Florida, they decided middle school students will be taught that enslaved people benefited from slavery. They insult us in an attempt to gaslight us, and we will not stand for it.
Vice President Kamala Harris making it clear what she thinks of new Black history standards in the state of Florida. Thanks to Ron DeSantis' Board of Education, students will soon learn that, quote, slaves developed skills which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit, end quote. Gaslighting indeed. Joining me now, Dr. Marvin Dunn, the founder and president of the Miami Center for Racial Justice and professor emeritus at Florida International University. He's also the author of A History of Florida Through Black Eyes. Dr. Dunn, it's an honor to have you join the show this morning. Vice President Harris also said during that speech, let us not be seduced into believing that somehow we will be better if we forget. We'll be better if we remember. We will be stronger if we remember. The answer seems so obvious, Dr. Dunn, but why is DeSantis' slate of hate so hell-bent on erasing the truths of our history?
Because it gives, thank you for having me, Katie, because it gives him political leverage with his base. Somehow or another, every time we come around to a presidential election cycle, race becomes an issue. And DeSantis is no different in that regard. And he's been able to maximize fear among the Republican base by particularly attacking Black history in Florida. You know, I looked at the standards that the state now has adopted, and several things struck me as being just absolutely strange. For example, they require, and we'll talk about the personal benefits of slavery in just a moment, but the new standards require the state to teach children that there was slavery in China, in Africa, and Asia. Why are they putting that into a Black history course? They're doing that, Katie, because the DeSantis administration wants people to believe that slavery was everywhere. All societies had slavery. So American slavery wasn't that bad. It was that bad. The unique thing about American slavery that was different from every other practice of slavery in the world was that in American slavery, the slaves were reduced to property. They were chattel property. No other system of slavery did that except American slavery. And then now to suggest that there were benefits to being enslaved, how ridiculous to take the murder, the suffering, the rape, the exploitation of American enslaved people and to say they got a benefit from that. That is part of the old Southern rationalization that slavery wasn't that bad and that actually we did Africans a favor by bringing them out of Africa and putting them in chains in this country.
You know, Doctor, the whitewashing of history also includes new standards that would include language that conflates the 1920 Ocoee Massacre, when at least 30 African Americans were killed for attempting to vote. 30, with acts of violence perpetrated by African Americans. I mean, how would you respond to how illogical, absurd, and frankly offensive that concept is?
The state got Ocoee totally wrong. They got it wrong. There were no white people killed by Blacks in Ocoee. There were 2 white men killed by friendly fire from other members of the mob who were stupid enough to surround a house and fire into it. According to the sheriff, no Black people killed any whites in Ocoee, and yet 30 Black people were killed. And now the state holds that up as some sort of equivalency of racial violence. In Rosewood, for example, you had a mob surround a man's house. He has this family in this home, and the mob is shooting into the house. And they kill his mother. She falls dead in front of him. And then he shoots back and kills 2 white men. That's equivalent racial violence? Katie, there's no instance of racial violence initiated by Blacks in the history of Florida except the 1980 riot. It just did not happen.
Doctor, before I have to let you go, I wanted to ask you this final question. You've written the following. You've written a lot, but this really stuck with me. You said, quote, no Black person I knew, talking about growing up in Florida, escaped the impact of the Jim Crow system or the possibility of being killed for no other reason than being Black. Dr. Dunn, how do we teach empathy to our children? How do we teach empathy to the next generation if they have no exposure to what the history, our shared real history was?
That's why I do these Teach the Truth tours. We take high school students and a parent or a grandparent to these places where the blood was shed, so that they can experience these places in a very direct way and then share this information with others in their networks. We have to have people feel history. If you de-emotionalize history, you no longer have history. You have a catalog. So for me, taking people, involving people in the places where these things happened and having that become a part of their experience is the way forward. Young people are not stupid. They're not dumb. They can handle these things. And in my view, we need to expose them to that history so that they can make sure we don't repeat it.
There's this claim by DeSantis and his education commissioner in the state of Florida, where you and I are, that the left is trying to indoctrinate. They use that phrase, that verb, indoctrinate our youth. But the reality is, isn't it, Dr. Dunn, that they're actually trying to indoctrinate our youth into believing that a whitewashed history is what actually happened in the books of history. I think there's a saying, you know, the history is written by the victors. I think in this case, it's by the people that have control over what our curriculum is, huh?
Exactly. You know, Ron DeSantis taught school for a while, and according to some of his former students, he taught them that abortion was wrong. He taught them that the South had a point in the Civil War. So whose ideology was he imposing on students when he taught school? This man is a hypocrite who wants to be president at any cost, including the cost of diluting, whitewashing, and erasing Black history.
Dr. Dunn, do you think that there are solutions? Because I know that we are stuck with a supermajority GOP legislator in the state of Florida. They kind of walk lockstep, and I use that phrase specifically. They walk lockstep with Ron DeSantis. Are there any solutions?
I think the current situation will be resolved eventually in court. It's going to take the Supreme Court of the United States to say there are rights that are protected, and the state can only go so far in trying to squash individual freedom, particularly the First Amendment. These challenges must be settled in court, and I think they will be.
Dr. Marvin Dunn, I invite you back anytime so we can continue this conversation. And let's pray that that curriculum doesn't get even worse for kids like mine, by the way, in the public school system in the state of Florida. But thank you for joining me this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Katie.